Hi guys, I am back with what I hope is going to be part 2 of the sensitivity video. Forgive me for taking a while to do that. If you haven't seen the first video, I published it a couple of weeks ago. It's called Magical Things Sensitivity. So this is Magical Things Sensitivity part 2. And I just realized watching that video that I had left a lot of things out. Most of you, the video really resonated with you and you have these experiences as well, or at least some of them. Many of you emailed me about other experiences that you've had also, so I'm going to talk about those a little bit too. I do have notes here so I don't forget what I'm talking about. There was one person who said, gosh, you talk about yourself a lot, unsubscribe. I really hate if there's anybody else out there that feels that way, but when I'm talking about things that are magical things, I'm talking from my own experience. So I am going to say the word I a lot because I'm talking about things that have happened to me or how I've discovered psychic abilities or whatever it is that we're talking about. So I will be talking about myself in this video. So if you really hate that, probably don't go ahead and watch it. If you're okay with it, then let's continue. So I wanted to talk about first physical sensitivities because I think a lot of you have a lot of these in combination. I did talk in the first video about overwhelm and sensory overload. I used the example of being in a restaurant because literally everything is happening all at once, and you've got smells and you've got tastes and you've got conversations, and it ends up being too much. And several of you said that resonated with you, that happens to you as well. And thank you for all of your comments and emails as well. So what I have written down here is things that I didn't mention that I wanted to mention this time, like food sensitivities. I'm not talking about allergies, but some of us are sensitive to things like stimulants or supplements, and I'm one of those. I can't have caffeine. If I have one caffeinated drink, I don't drink coffee or anything, but if I have one caffeinated drink in the morning, like a diet soda, I kind of kicked the diet soda habit, so now I have an unsweet tea in the morning. If you're British, I know that we Americans have sweet tea over here, and it's cold also. But I have an iced unsweet tea in the morning, and that's my caffeinated drink. And then I don't have anything caffeinated after lunchtime. I only have water because if I have any caffeine in the afternoon, I won't sleep. I'll be very jittery. It tends to give me the shakes. So I'm very sensitive to things like that. I can't do creatine or supplements like that when I'm working out or in my smoothies because they also give me the jitters. I tend to have a reaction to them. The other thing about that I want to mention, just in case this is also the case for you, is if I'm vitamin deficient in something that's major, like magnesium or iron, I will show symptoms kind of drastically, like in a big way. And then, I go to the doctor and get the blood work and then figure out what it is. So if you're having anything, especially like anxiety or you're shaking or you're jittery, you might look into that. I just felt like there's somebody that needed to hear that, and I've definitely been through that, and it's a very easy fix. Actually, when people tell me that they have anxiety, that's the first thing I say is check your magnesium, because magnesium is a mineral that is used on every level down to the cellular level in the body. Many of us have a deficiency. We don't know that we have a deficiency, and it's very, very easy to fix. Okay, moving on. Sensitive to temperature, so too hot or too cold in a room. You can feel everything going on in your body. This is a weird one that I actually talked to an acupuncturist about before, because he said a lot of people are just very desensitized, especially in developed countries like ours, with everything going on all the time. You work in an office building, the cars are going outside, the planes are going overhead, it's very noisy, it's very bright, it's a lot of these things, right? But some of us have this ability to feel things that are going on inside our body. I'm sensitive to, if my heart, I have a murmur and I can feel it sometimes. It's very common. But if if your muscles are twitching or tweaking, or this is going to sound really gross, and my husband thinks it's gross, but sometimes I can feel things moving around, like in my intestines, which I know is, TMI, possibly, maybe. But I'm very sensitive to all the things that go on in my body as well. I'm trying to think of a better example. I can tell when I have a fever. I can sometimes, feel my own pulse without actually touching myself. And I think that's just part of being sensitive. Fever, inflammation. Yeah, I can tell when I'm inflamed. Have you ever touched a plant? This is not to do with your own body, but I just want to know if there's anybody else out there. Have you ever touched a plant or a flower, especially if it's a house plant that's been with you for a while? Have you ever held on to, the trunk of a small tree and you could feel it pulsing or pulsating or vibrating? Not everybody can do that. If you're nodding your head, yes, you know what I'm talking about. That's a gift. Good for you. It's a gift. With smells, I talked before about how perfumes really overwhelm me and we're getting the toxic stuff out of our home. That is very true. I also have allergies to, I'm allergic to dust and something else I can't remember. Oh yeah, cats and dogs. Sorry guys. We don't have any pets because I sneeze, but I'm allergic to dust, and peppermint makes me sneeze, and especially if I pop like a peppermint candy or peppermint breath mint and then go out in the sunshine, I will sneeze like crazy. That combination, I don't know what that is. I know it sounds silly, but as a kid, mentioning the sunshine, as a kid, I was very photosensitive. I couldn't ever look up when my mom was trying to take a picture of us outside, like in our nice Easter dresses or whatever it was. I was always the one that was looking down or making a weird face in the photo because I couldn't look up. Like it hurt my eyes so bad to try to look in the direction of the sunlight. I don't know if that's a thing that all kids have. My kids do it now. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that kids do or if that's just something that some people do, so I mentioned it. With smells, rotten foods or fermented foods are the bane of my existence. If there's something rotten in the refrigerator, I can smell it just yards away. I can walk into our apartment. Now, it's not a big space. It's really not, but I can usually tell that something is wrong in the apartment when I walk in. I can smell things from too far away. With my boys, my sons, I can smell cavities, and I can smell, my older son has a disorder of the Krebs cycle, so it's a little bit, if you know anything about diabetes and blood sugar issues, it's a little bit like diabetes, but it's not diabetes. When he was younger, they thought he had cancer, and then my almost 4-year-old was also diagnosed with leukemia about a year ago. I didn't believe it. It's not what I felt about either one of them, and I turned out to be right. Neither of them has cancer or ever had any kind of cancer stuff in their body, so praise whoever for that. Very relieved to know that they didn't, but I could smell that they were sick. I could smell that something was wrong, and even now, when my son plays really hard and he'll come inside, he smells like, and if you're a nurse, you're gonna know, you know already what I'm gonna say. He smells like acetone, like nail polish remover. His breath smells, and we have learned to manage that with diet and hydration and stuff like that. But I could always smell when he was getting sick, and we would have to take him to the hospital for a couple days. But smells tied to memories or past lives. This one is really great. A lot of people have this just because your smell is the strongest sense tied to memory. And I don't even know how to explain this correctly. I have a jacket of my grandfather's in my closet. He passed away 10 years ago. It still smells like him, and when I need him, when I miss him, I smell it. I smell the jacket, and it's been in different homes with me and been through a lot of different things, and it still smells like him. And I get like butterflies in my stomach. Like I just remember him. I remember our love, and I feel calm and I feel at peace. Smells tied to past lives is a really big one. If you've ever had deja vu with a smell, that's an incredible experience. Or with a food, that's another one too. If you tasted something that you think you've never had before, and then you're like, this is really familiar, or I've had this, or it brings back some kind of vision. I've heard people talk about past life regressions involving things like taste and things like smell, and they didn't realize that it had to do with a past life. I feel like I'm all over the place here, but I hope that you guys are tracking. Smells tied to fear. This is also a thing that I think is true of most sensitives, but it may not be. For me personally, when I get very, very frightened, not something scary like watching a scary movie, which you guys know that I don't do, but when I'm actually for example, I get super freaked out when I feel like I'm gonna faint. And I've done this a number of times in my life, fainted. And when I get very, very scared like that, I smell alcohol. It smells like rubbing alcohol. I think this has to do with something that happened in a hospital. maybe when I was a kid and I was really traumatized and I don't remember it because I was so young, or maybe in a past life. Because I hate hospitals and I don't go unless I absolutely have to, and I don't go to the doctor unless I absolutely have to. I will try every natural remedy in the book before I will go to a doctor. It's just not my favorite place. And when I get very scared, I smell rubbing alcohol, and for that reason I can't actually, I do have some rubbing alcohol in my bathroom, but I don't really use it for anything because I can't, the smell kind of freaks me out. Anyway, so moving on to sight, we've done feel, touch, and we've done smell. Can you see auras? This was one that I worked with a massage therapist many years ago. The place where I worked offered massage. It was a sports clinic, and the massage therapists were all really great, really kind of kooky people, but I love them so much, and I mean that with so much affection. She would come in, and just like Phoebe on Friends, she would come in and she would look at me and not say anything. And I'd be like, hey, Jane, what's going on? And she would say, oh, I'm just looking at your aura today. And at the time, I thought she was, you know, cracked. It's okay, Jane, sure, alrighty. And she would sometimes tell me what it looked like, and she would sometimes tell me what color it was, and I was like, okay, cool. But I didn't believe any of that stuff at the time. Now I do. I have seen auras before, but every time I've been able to do it, it's been on accident. Some of you, I hope that you will comment on this video if you can see auras. You may not even realize that's what you're seeing. Sometimes when you're looking at a person or in a closed or confined space, like an elevator with a stranger, and you look at them, or maybe you're trying not to look at them, so you're just seeing them in your periphery, you may see a color that seems like it's emanating from them, or, you know, it's above them, like outlining them, kind of. This is helping you, isn't it? If that sounds familiar to you, you may be seeing their aura and their aura field, and if that is you, then I'm super envious, because I've always wanted to be able to do that, and I'm trying to learn right now, but it's not something that I have naturally. But a lot of people who are sensitive to energy and photosensitive, I would imagine, you can see auras or see people's energy when you look at them. Waves in the air. This is a really cool one. I was talking to my husband last night about this. So have you ever seen actual heat waves? I know that you have, like in movies, sometimes when they're panning out, you know, wide shot of the desert, you can actually see steam, or you can kind of see the heat. I don't know how to describe that. You see the heat waves coming up off the ground. Have you ever seen that in real life? Or have you seen it when it's not necessarily heat? Have you ever seen something moving, almost bending the air in front of you? That would be something that I don't think that everybody else can pick up on. That's a thing that sensitives do. And then things moving in your periphery. I did have somebody email me and ask about this. Do you constantly see things out of the side of your eyes, just right here, moving? And when you look, there's nothing there, but you would bet your life that you saw something move. This used to happen to me when I would run out like in the forest. There's a local park here, and I would go running by myself, and I swear I would hallucinate dogs, small dogs on the path in front of me, and they weren't even like out to the side as much. They were sort of ahead of me and to either side. And to this day, I think that those were guardians, some kind of spirit guardians keeping me safe, because I would always pray to Archangel Michael or somebody to just watch over me while I'm running. Don't let me get murdered, like help me to stay safe and not be injured and all of that. And I would hallucinate. I think that I called them hallucinations at the time, these small animals, but now I think that they were guides, or just letting me know that I'm protected, or something or someone is here with you. So let me know if you've had that happen as well. I'd really like to hear your stories. For taste, I have textures. I really love textures in my food. My husband does not get any pleasure at all from food, and you know, we're French, and that doesn't make sense to me, because everything you eat should be enjoyable to me. And he just doesn't. He's like, whatever, food is fuel, it's fine, it doesn't matter what it tastes like. I'm definitely the opposite of that. I love to have salty and sweet and crunchy and mushy and everything all in one bite. So I tend to make and cook a lot of textured foods because that's satisfying for me. That may be a sensitivity thing. Spices. Are you sensitive to spices and hot, spicy food? I cannot eat it at all. Not just because it hurts my stomach, but yeah, I'm very sensitive in my mouth to that stuff. Flavors. Can you detect a lot of flavors? We watched this funny show one time, and these chefs were competing, and they were tasting something, we'll say it was chili. So it had a lot of ingredients in it, and they were having to taste it and kind of, and then say an ingredient that they tasted in it. So cinnamon or turmeric or something like that. And it couldn't be something obvious like chili powder. One girl actually said peanut butter, which I thought was really an interesting guess. Can you do that? Sometimes I can do this. It depends, I think, on how clear my sinuses are, because sometimes I feel like you taste a little bit with your nose, like cats do. But sometimes I can do that. But for the most part, I don't know that I have that ability. But then sensitive to hot and cold, too, is the last one I have. My kids are very sensitive to hot food and cold food. My brother, when he was younger, would only eat food once it had cooled down. He never liked anything hot. I think he's still like that. He doesn't like hot food at all. And I don't know why. I should ask him, because I think that he's pretty sensitive and psychic as well. So are you sensitive to hot and cold? Do you like textures in your food? For sound, singing or songs. Okay, this is one that is gonna sound really weird, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway. Sometimes when I'm in the shower, or it doesn't have to be me in the shower, I can hear other water running. Sometimes when it's like thunderstorm outside and my window is open and I have that rain sound, I hear singing in it. I hear singing in water. I don't know how to, I'm just gonna let that sit with you for a minute. When I'm in the shower, I hear, and it's always like angelic. You know, I grew up listening to Andrea Bocelli, for example, and it's that kind of singing. It's really beautiful. It's definitely not coming from my mouth. I'm not a singer. Sometimes it's multiple voices and sometimes it's just one. And I swear, like, I will get up and try to find where that's coming from, or like ask, does somebody have the radio on? And they never do. And when the water stops, the singing stops. For me, that's something that goes along with my sensitivity. I do think I'm picking up on something. Water conducts electricity. Water is very conducive to sound. Water is conducive to energy of any kind. We are made of water, right? Water is very grounding and nurturing for us. It's a part of how we connect back to our Mother Earth. So I think it is beyond possible that it's a way to communicate, or a way for us to connect to other planes or beings that are vibrating on a different, what's the word for that? Different level, different vibration than us. Does this happen to you? Have you had this happen? Because I would love for you to say, yes, that's happened to me. You are not just the only person that has that happen. Or if you have a theory about what you think that is. But for me, I've always just chalked that up to sensitivity, because it's not something that happens any other time. But I do hear it when there's water running. It has to be a lot of water. I have never been to a big enough waterfall to test that out. I know somebody's going to ask me that, but I'm going to a waterfall location on vacation this year, so I will be listening out for that. And then the other thing is voices. Now, I don't have clairaudience. Somebody did send an email about this and said they sometimes hear voices. That's absolutely something that sensitives have. I don't personally have it. It is a psychic gift, in my opinion. It's called clairaudience. If you are alone and hearing voices, or even you could be in a crowded place and you hear voices that are disembodied, they don't belong to the people that are around you, like, you know that's not your friend's voice, but you heard somebody say something in your ear, that's a spiritual gift. That's someone trying to communicate with you from the other side. And I would recommend that you go into meditation and ask about it, inquire about it, tell it to stop if you want it to. That's always an option as well. You are in control of those things. It's a cool gift. I just don't happen to have it. But it is another thing that sensitives tend to have, or could have. Tone and inflection in conversation is another one with sound. This has to do with being an empath. A lot of times empaths are half and half, spiritually sensitive, and I can feel your vibration, and you know, I can tell your motives and things just because I can feel the energy that you're putting off. And then some of it is that we're very observant. And so we can see things that other people just aren't paying attention to in kind of a Sherlock Holmes way. So you can tell tiny changes in a person's voice, the tone of voice, the inflection in their voice. You can tell if they're lying. You can tell if they're happy or sad. You can tell their motivations. That's something that sensitives do. Buzzing or high-pitched noise in your ears, does this ever happen to you? Not in that it would be like tinnitus or something like that, but if you get this when you're in danger, if you get this when you're around certain people, I definitely think that it's a sign that you are sensitive. I don't know exactly what it means. I think it could mean different things for different people, but that's certainly part of a sensitivity gift. The last one I have for sound is whooshing by your ears. And I want to mention this because it used to happen to me a lot in a house that we lived in before, and I am relatively certain that it was a passed on loved one who was just letting me know that he was there and didn't want to scare me. So do you ever have like a whooshing? If you're standing still, let's say you're standing in the kitchen and you're cooking, do you ever have a whoosh? Almost like somebody just slightly brushed your ear, but very quick. There's not really a noise to it. It's like the wind is blowing, but there's no wind blowing. This could be you being sensitive to the energies around you and the entities and the beings and the life force around you. This could also be someone trying to communicate with you as well. Okay, I'm going to turn the page and make sure that I mentioned everything I wanted to. On the video 2 weeks ago, I talked about the sensory overload, the overwhelm, detoxing the home, that sensitivity is not empathy, but a lot of times they coexist, because empathy and empaths do feel everything energetic, and everything is energy. A reminder to you to say, I am asensitive, not I am sensitive, because it's something good within you. It's a gift. It's a superpower. It's not a sickness. It's not an affliction. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's a wonderful thing, and you should own it about yourself. I think that's everything that I had to talk about today. If you want to, go back and watch part 1, and then come back and watch part 2, and then tell me all of the sensitivities that you have, or what part resonated with you, or what sounds totally kooky, or things that I missed, because I know that there will be things that I missed. Just don't tell me how many times I said the word I in the video, because I was talking about myself, guys, so I had to. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that this video makes you feel empowered, makes you feel seen and heard and normal, because as far as I'm concerned, you are normal and you are a gift, and sensitivity is a gift, and I'm grateful that I have it, and I'm grateful for you guys, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.